Hi everyone. So today we're starting with chapter 1, which is dealing with solving equations. So for our first lesson, we're looking at solving simple equations. So today in this lesson, we're going to look at writing one-step equations, identifying parts of equations, solving one-step equations, applying some of our properties of equality to solve equations, and then use equations to model and solve real-life problems. So I know it seems like we have a lot of bullet points of what we're going to be covering in this lesson, but about half of these are review from your prior math classes. So taking a look at parts of an equation. The equation itself is the whole piece, like 3x plus 5 equals 20. The expression is just the part on one side of the equal sign where the variable is. Some words I want you to remember from maybe past math classes are terms. Terms are all of those pieces that are being added or subtracted. So here our terms are 3x, a positive 5, and 20. Those are all the terms. Coefficients, those are the numbers in front of the variable. So our coefficients, we only have one here in this problem, and that's just the number 3. We don't need the variable with it because coefficient means we're looking just for the number value. And then we have constants. Constants are the things with just numbers, or they're the terms without variables attached to them. So our constants in this problem would be 5 and 20. Let's put this to practice in example 1. Identify parts of the following equation. Now I forgot to have this equation actually filled in here for this problem, so let me write it down. 15x plus 3y minus 2 equals 15. Take a moment to pause the video and identify the terms, coefficients, and constants. At this point, you should have paused the video, so our terms would be 15x, a positive 3y, a negative 2, and 15. Our coefficients are 15 that's attached to the x and 3 that's attached to the y, and constants are negative 2 and 15. Now let's get into how to write equations. So we want to think about what are words that mean the following math operations. So words that mean addition for us are things like sum, plus, or increase. Some words that mean subtraction are minus, decrease, difference, things that mean multiply are something like product of or times. And numbers that mean to divide are things like quotient. Or words that mean to divide are words like quotient. So when we're going through problems that are asking us to come up with an equation or write an equation, these are some of the words that you could be looking for and what operation they refer to. Now, this is not a list that contains all the words, but these are just some of them. So looking at example 2, we want to write an equation for each problem. The first one is the sum of 12 and a number b. So right off the bat, I'm recognizing that we're taking a sum, so I'm going to be using addition to connect these two pieces here. So 12 plus b. For the next one, it says the quotient, which is division of 16 and a number x. And the last one says the difference of a number a and 11. Now we want to talk about properties of equality. Properties of equality are just letting you know that when you have an equal sign An equal sign means that the weights of one side of the equal sign and the other side are the same. So whatever's on one side is going to be equal to or equivalent to the other side. When we start adding variables, that's when it begins to get a little bit more abstract. So what this addition property of equality says, if I have a number such as x equal to 3, but if I take that number x and I add 5 to both sides, I still have a balanced equation. I still have an equal equation here. And I could write x plus 5 equals 8. Same thing works for subtraction. If I have something such as x equals 3, but I go through and I subtract 5 on both sides, I still have an equal equation because whatever I did to one side, I did to the other, so I get x minus 5 equals negative 2 then. Let's put this to practice in example 3. Solve using addition or subtraction. Now, before we get into this, we need to remind ourselves of what our inverse or opposite operations are. What are things that undo one another? So if I add, its inverse is to subtract. If I multiply by a number, its inverse is to divide by that number. They will undo one another's operations. So if I take 2 steps forward and I add 2 steps, but then I go 2 steps back and I subtract 2 steps, I end up in my original spot. So looking at example 3, part A, we want to solve, and we have x minus 7 equals negative 6. So we need to use inverse operations to get the x variable all by itself. You should remember this from past math classes. So the inverse of subtraction is addition. That's going to cancel out or zero out that minus 7 that was attached to the x on the left side. And when I do negative 6 plus 7, I'm left with x equals 1. Going through a similar process with part B. Some of you might remember from past math classes, they put a line through the equal sign to help you stay organized with the left and right side. Again, we want to get the variable by itself. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides because that's going to cancel out the positive 6. That is the inverse of addition is subtraction. I'm going to end up with negative 5 equals W. I want you to work on parts C and D on this example on your own. Pause the video, then press play to see the answers. So looking at C, I'm going to subtract the 3.4 on both sides of the equal sign, and that is going to leave me with y equals negative 2.9. Looking at D, t minus 1/4 equals negative 3/4. I'm going to add the 1/4 over. I'm left with t is equal to. Now this math might be helpful to kind of do off to the side here. We have negative 3/4 plus 1/4. Well, negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2 over 4. And that simplifies down to negative 1 over 2. So our final answer in simplified form is negative 1/2. If you wrote this as a decimal and said t equals negative 0.5, that would be acceptable as well. All right, so this is where we're going to end the first video, finishing up example 3. Watch the next video to go through the rest of the notes.